Hello and greetings, astrology friends and fans out there. Today I thought I have to do this. I have to record another Astro Weather update here today on Monday, not on Tuesday tomorrow, because tomorrow we will have the partial solar eclipse new moon in Scorpio already. And I would also like to include this video into my email Astro News. So, more intensity of stuff to write about, talk about, and acknowledge, and help you also see and integrate. Hope that works for you. Anyway, so today is the 24th of October 2022, and we are on day 2 of Scorpio. And tomorrow morning at 4 a.m. exactly, 4 a.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time, 12 noon Greenwich Daylight Savings Time exactly, will be the maximum eclipse of this first eclipse of the fall eclipse season, which is a partial solar eclipse new moon in Scorpio at exactly 2 degrees, 200. So lots of exact lineups there, and an intense week to follow, which has in fact already started with the Scorpio season. And with the day before, Scorpio season started on the 23rd. So yesterday seems like already whoosh. That was only yesterday. And on the 22nd, 2 days ago, was the day when Saturn turned direction from retrograde to forward. Saturn has been retrograde since June, early June, and now will be going forward until next June. Is that true? Let me just verify the June point here. Okay, Saturn direct 22nd June, I believe so. Okay, take my word for it, or let me verify. Anyway, so it will be until June the 17th or so, 2023. And yeah, so Saturn shows us now how to be in our authority, in our intrinsic a place of knowing from experience, which we have hopefully cultivated under Saturn retrograde, and carry that forward and actually build, but not just build ourselves, but together with others, because Aquarius is about community. And so, where do we come together with people who are with us in collaboration? And what is the new world we are co-engineering in humanity, for the future? This is what Saturn says. And the retrograde phase also showed us what not to do. A retrograde Saturn in a birth chart is often a signature of somebody who has had bad role models. So people who in the family or as teachers or authorities who actually their modeling didn't work for you and might not have been good modeling, period. So you would have to find your own way, and you might bump up against authorities and have what's called authority issues, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It can be guiding you to find really a responsibility, authority, and so on from within. Anyway, Saturn started the trend of a massive last 9 days of October and opened the gate. That's what Saturn does. Saturn is a doorman. Opens the gate, opens the door for quite a few shifts that are now happening. So first of all, the Sun and Venus entered Scorpio almost simultaneously on the 23rd, yesterday, just after midnight and the early morning. First Venus and then the Sun entering Scorpio diving in there into the alchemy of life, into the depth, into the emotional pool of things that are usually hidden and covered and veiled. And the early Scorpio part, the first 10 days, the first 10 degrees of Scorpio have a Cancer undertone. So with Halloween, with All Saints, All Souls, Dias de los Muertos, very much apropos Cancer, because it's also the veil is thin between this world and our ancestors and our families who are on the other side. And it also brings up deep emotions to process. So we're in that now, and we're in this also with the eclipse new moon tomorrow morning. And this one is also a release eclipse because it comes with a south node. There's two types of eclipses in this regard, the north node eclipses and the south node eclipses, and it can be a new moon or a full moon. So this one is a new moon, and I'll show it to you, and it comes with a south node. So here is Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Venus, and the south node. So I call this a release eclipse because the south node is about releasing old patterns, releasing what doesn't serve us anymore, and especially with Scorpio, it's like a detox. And I would invite you to check out the Sabian symbol for this eclipse new moon. Very apropos. Let me read that quickly. I think I did that last time, but maybe you didn't see that video. So let me just briefly read it here from the blog post, which you're also invited to check out, the Astro News blog. I always post links to those. So what does the Sabian symbol say without the whole text, just the gist of it? It's exactly at 2 degrees Scorpio, so if it's exactly at a certain degree, it's definitely relevant. And it says, a delicate bottle of perfume lies broken, releasing its fragrance. And the keynote is the accidental nature of opportunities that impel one to break away from the past, the remembrance of which is still poignant and cherished. It's a short one. Let me read the whole thing. A new and greater realization usually demands the sacrifice of something which has brought loveliness and fragrance to a lesser form of living and feeling. Old feelings are poignantly remembered, even as one moves into a new and wider sphere of existence. Old relationships may be left behind, but the memory of their essential moments lingers on, perhaps strong and nostalgic. This is the second stage of the 43rd sequence. It contrasts with the first, so 1 degree Scorpio, in that it reveals the difficulty of dealing with the past as one enters into a new realm of feelings. Cancer, Scorpio. And it says in the end, basically to sum it up, to the excitement of novelty answers the memory of the graciousness of the past one has surrendered. So that's always a difficult process because we are cherishing the beauty of the past, and sometimes it's like literally fragrances. It's something that's in the limbic part of the brain that we can't even control, that evokes these feelings and memories. So how can we release? And for that, I highly recommend a ceremony. I actually did one yesterday by the water, ideally. It might be a letter that you write in acknowledgement of the past, but also in opening and inviting of what's to come. And you can decorate it, you can offer something to Mother Earth to transform this and help you transform your emotional body. Yeah, that eclipse is really powerful. And it starts the eclipse season. Second one will be on November 8th. Yes, November 8th. Central Scorpio, US midterm election day, and so much going on before now and then. And that will be a total lunar eclipse where the moon will be in Taurus while the sun is in Scorpio, and with a north node in this case. So it's a seed eclipse. It plants new seeds, and it also shows us already the fruition of them because it's a full moon. And it comes with Uranus, so it's a lot about freedom. That is a positive expression of that symbol with a broken perfume bottle, which is more like a shattering, accidental shattering, or unintentional, undesired shattering. Uranus says, yeah, break free and embody that freedom. Anyway, back to now and back to this week because there's so much going on. So let me look at my little list of things. So don't forget one of these features. And as I said, the Astro News blog for the eclipse new moon is up. And those of you who are on my newsletter will also get it via email with a whole comprehensive gist and shebang, as I say, of all the planetary alignments between the new moon and the full moon. Some of them linked, some of them just entitled. I can't possibly write all that in one newsletter. That's a lot. Anyway, it's also my own standard. I know that. Anyway, so the next theme this week is on the 27th, 2 days after the new moon, is when Jupiter, now still in early Aries, re-enters, because it's retrograde, re-enters Pisces for just 2 months until winter solstice, day before winter solstice, December 20th, when it fully enters Aries. And it goes retro to the end of Pisces until November 23rd, I believe, last week of November. From there on forward, it's a wrap up of Pisces, and that itself is also release energy. It even connects closely to Neptune. It won't be exactly in conjunction with Neptune, where it was on April 12th, for this big unification wave, for everything coming together, falling apart, but also releasing and opening. And big chaos as well. I was like shortly after the invasion into the Ukraine, and lots of other stuff coming down and causing lots of chaos in humanity, to the climate, to the people. Pisces can be super chaotic, and it's also a release. And this year is really also a transition year, which is very much, signature of that is that strong Pisces influence. Lots of newness next year. And so Jupiter, as I said, a big unifying wave with Jupiter re-entering Pisces. Then 2 days later again, on October 29th, Mercury from Libra enters Scorpio to travel through Scorpio until November 17th. And I call that motto here, alchemy of the mind. So we notice like what's going on in the mind, in the depth, in the sticky parts of our mind, where we might get hooked on certain not very life-affirming, not very healthy thought forms or emotions, with Scorpio turning into thought forms. And our job is to be aware with Mercury and to help bring those to the light, unmask them, call them out, bring them out of the closet, And that itself is an alchemical process. And it's also lots of things are hidden for reasons, of course, right? So we out trick ourselves. And basically, you could say, what if I would bring this to my awareness or even talk about it with others? What if I came out with this, basically? Would there be shame? Would there be guilt? All these feelings that we don't want to feel when we expose. But in fact, it's just exposing the shadow. It's not really us, right? And everybody got that stuff. So this would be a really good opportunity to do that. Of course, it will be also a time when all kinds of information with Mercury comes out that has been hidden, has been covered, that can be politically, societally, in the news. So all of that. And all of this, of course, also during eclipse season, culminating with the total lunar eclipse in Taurus Scorpio on the 8th. That's also the day when actually Mercury will be exactly opposite Uranus, okay? Right? Uranus in Taurus and in square with Saturn. So that's got to get really quite hot and controversial and explosive potentially, but definitely transformational. What a potent season of Scorpio. Now, on the 30th, yet another day later, is when Mars in Gemini, ruled by Mercury, will go retrograde. Mars has been in Gemini for quite a while, since August 20th, and will be in Gemini until end of March 2023. So long, usually just 2 months, because of the retrograde phase. All in Gemini. So Mars goes retrograde until January 13th, 2023. What's that about? Usually the slogan with Mars retrograde is recalibrating the masculine, recalibrating the warrior. What does that mean? So basically, we are now seeing the deeper and the old parts of the masculine warrior impulse that Mars represents, our assertion, our drives, also the ego, actually, because the ego, Mars is the planet that's most easily hijacked by the ego, because Mars is the side that gets us, or attempts to, wants to get us what we want, right? So we want to check out how ego is here in the driver's seat. Once again, I say it. Similarly to Mercury retro, right? So it's, you might actually feel in this process, this feels like Mercury retrograde in a way. Also, since it's in Gemini and ruled by Mercury. And so another opportunity to go deeper and see how the ego is actually such a beast in a way, right? Really, quite assertive, and that can show up also in conversations, in communication, in our thinking, even, right? How we think about things. It can be so fast, right? With Mars. Mars in Gemini is a little bit like Mercury in Aries, right? Which is not happening now, but Mercury is in Scorpio, a little bit similar. So it's sharp, and it can be hurtful, right? So our thoughts can hurt others. We can hurt them with our thoughts and our inner dialogue, which is also very much apropos Mercury retro and Mars in Gemini retro. And so here comes a sneeze, maybe. Let's see. Okay, or not. Okay. So Mars retrograde brings out also old warrior energy, warriors, masculine energy from the past that can come into our lives, men from the past, literally, and desires from the past, mental Gemini interests and endeavors from the past that we can now tackle, and maybe it's unfinished. Maybe we finally have the zest and the drive to write what we haven't written before. So it would be perfect for book writing, for journalism, for anything. Also, especially with Mercury in Scorpio, investigative. So awesome time for all of that, and for conversations that haven't happened, and for being more forward, taking initiative, and reconnecting with people, taking action, being proactive. So let's see how that gets going. And then finally, October 31st is Halloween. And that's also, hope I pronounce it correctly because I'm not a Celtic speaker of the Celtic languages. Samhain, I hope that's good, Samhain. And it's spelled very differently. Samhain. Anyway, so this is the time also of All Saints, All Souls, Dias de los Muertos. The veil is thin, and our connection with the other world, with the invisible, with what's beyond the boundary of life and death, as we know it, is permeable. And we are invited to tune in, to connect, and to also receive support from the other side. That would be also apropos Pluto in Scorpio, having just turned direction, and all that Scorpio energy anyway. And I leave it with this, and send you many blessings, so much love from a deep place, and from my passionate place for the cosmic connections that we all share. Take care. Bye bye.